Hello, welcome to the Change Your Heart podcast. Ignite is the episode today. Ignite with Michael Diamond. I saw the word ignite and I knew that I had to connect with Michael. It was so cool that he was so willing to connect with me and to be on this podcast and to share with all of us what he has created, what he's envisioning. And it couldn't have come at a better time for me. I feel like I need more support from my peers right now. I feel like I need more help with my insecurities. I feel like I need to have more fun while I'm learning and growing. Michael came up with mentioned an awesome phrase. It was the evolutionary baton, the idea that we're all growing to become fathers for all the children. This really resonated with me because I want to be an example for future generations. I want to show the children of the world that they can be sensitive, that they can be confident, that they can be fun-loving, that they can be present, and they can really show up. And that was just one of so many cool things in this episode that I know you'll enjoy. Join Michael on his Facebook group, Ignite the King, and enjoy the episode, Ignite. We are the seekers of creativity and community. We work together, collaborating and uplifting each other to new heights. We are vulnerable and comfortable enough to get deep in our hearts. We understand there is abundance for all. We are fluid. We tell stories. We listen and we support. We shape and materialize our world into a safe place to explore. We are doing this together, all in our own way. We are Change Your Heart. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Change Your Heart podcast. My name is Brent. I am your host, and I am here with Michael Diamond. And hello, Michael.
Hello, welcome. Good to be here with you, Brent. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. It's been a long time since we've connected, and it's been, I really got filled up with an excitement when we got to reconnect and to be together. It's so cool.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised and excited, and I saw you posting online, and then next thing I knew, you were reaching out to me. So I love the way those tentacles cross time and space.
So I remember that you were traveling a lot before. You were traveling to Los Angeles and then back to Marin and things like that during these times. Are you still doing that?
So pre-COVID, I was already planning on winding down my travels to LA, and then COVID basically confirmed that for me. So now I go down about once a month. I'm doing more of pop-up style. I have a core group of clientele that I take care of. But as far as the practice and the office space, that is no more. But I still have the live brand, and I'm still taking care of clients there, just traveling a lot less, like most of us right now. Yeah. And that's allowed me actually to focus on part of what we're going to talk about today. So doing more of the men's work, the Ignite the King work, where my passion, my mission feels like it is right now.
Too cool. It's for a lot of people, especially me, and it sounds like with you during this time, it's really been a time to go in and to find what's important to us and to really think about the things that we want to create and finding more of our passion and things like that. And that is a sort of diamond in the rough with that with that.
Absolutely.
And
The word I've been using is reimagine. I feel like I've been reimagining my life, and uniquely, a lot of this came online just prior to the whole COVID situation. So the wheels were already in motion and things were already happening, and then it just sort of got in there right before all that happened, essentially. So I feel very grateful for that.
yeah, it's pretty interesting for so much. Anne's really into the stars and astrology and where, where what the energies are and different things. And until this time, until about the past year, I've really started seeing like, oh wow, it is trending that way. Things are moving that way, and it's sort of flowing a little bit more like that.
Absolutely.
Have you had more time with your family, with Wolfie and Nanalea?
Absolutely. This is, on a personal level, this time of shelter in place has been some of the most rewarding time. Like you mentioned, my traveling, I was moving around a lot,
Yeah, you
and
were.
to be home and to not be in school and to just be together and just slow down. And it's been an incredible gift to have that. And as I'm sure a lot of people are experiencing, reevaluating, reimagining what's important and where we're spending our time. And I know for me, just having the time, or choosing to have the time to focus on family and relationship and these new ventures, of course, as well, has been, it couldn't have been more perfectly timed. Of course, my heart goes out to all those that are suffering, whether specifically with this illness and infection, and also the ripples that we're seeing of the industries and jobs and all the things and ways people are getting affected by it. And I also know in transformation, it's hard at the beginning. It's very messy in the middle, and ultimately it's beautiful. And I know we'll get to that point. And right now we're in a messy part, but a part that feels like it has had to happen.
Yeah, you explained that wonderfully, and I would love to talk more about your the transformations that you bring out in people the same way as we're going through a transformation here, because
Exactly.
as of this time, it is very difficult for people to feel that there will be a great thing at the end,
Yeah.
and so it's super cool that you have you have that understanding. And
Yeah, well, for so many years being a healthcare practitioner, that was probably one of my number one roles with patients, or we call practice members, is to hold that vision for them, to know that there is another side to what's going on for them, right?
Mhm.
Someone comes in with a concern, an illness, a malady, whatever it may be. And it's hard to see the other side of that when you're in the experience of it. So that's why we go see someone, right? Is
Mhm.
to get help. And the job of that helper, at least in my perspective, is to hold the vision for what's possible. And obviously combined with clinical years of experience, say, yeah, we've seen this before, you're going to be okay. And that's hard when we're in it to see. Now, what's going on right now definitely is unique in certain respects and unprecedented as far as its reach. All of us are being affected on some level. So it has some novelty to it, we'll call it that.
Yeah.
But we've survived as a species for this long, and I think we will get through this as well. And I think it's important in the process to have that perspective, because it can get overwhelming to focus on just what's going wrong or how things are breaking down. And I'm not saying to not pay attention to those things, but to have multiple perspectives simultaneously is served me very well, and those that I take care of. So that's my perspective on how to handle it, I guess.
Yeah. So you brought up an interesting point with the way, as a chiropractor, as a network chiropractor, you had people come in with pains or troubles, and you were able to transform. But as we're moving into this age of virtual, and you starting up with connecting with people online, and throughout the world, pretty much.
Yeah.
What has been your challenges, or what has been different in attracting or connecting with the people?
Yeah. I
Because
think it's the same thing that was probably existing before. It's through a different medium, right? Where the drug before was busyness, and being in a sort of quote brick and mortar type business, a lot of it was coordinating and scheduling and getting people to be able to come in when we're open and when they're available, right? It's so much is just logistics. And now online, it's, we essentially have more time, but now everything is online. So there's a lot more noise. There's a lot more that we still have to do. And what makes me or anyone else unique or different? Why would you want to come and seek me out when you have schooling you have to do online, or you have relationship, whatever it may be? There's just so much data now. How do we sift through that? And I think it's the same challenge we had before. It's just, again, a different medium. What's beautiful about this is, I mean, we're having a one-to-one conversation right now, but in my mentoring group, in my brotherhood, the IGKnight brotherhood, I'm on here, but I'm talking to, 10 men at one time. Mm-hmm. Where in the chiropractic office, even though we have a group room and multiple people, I'm still one-to-one, right? It still has to have that one-to-one experience. So the reach of what's possible now, I mean, the fact that you're in Miami and I'm in Northern California and we're able to be in real time with one another, that to me is amazing. And essentially that can translate all over the world. So as far as like what challenges it brings up, I think sifting through how much there is out there, but at the other end of the spectrum, there's so many more people that are accessible, right? Yes. And then it's just a matter of technology and marketing and getting that voice out there. But I firmly believe we're in a time where more than ever, people are searching for meaning and depth, and especially realness, because everything is virtual. I know for myself, sometimes I almost have a hard time differentiating between this sort of artificial intelligence and reality, which is, I can interpret it a lot of different ways, but it's I still want to get my hands in the dirt, right? I still want to have that real visceral experience. So how to translate that into this kind of relationship is a challenge, but one that I think is it's a lot of fun to see how it does come through.
I totally see with experiencing one-on-one before, but now just experiencing it with a bigger group and really having people attracted to your energy, finding you from everywhere, right? And then once with these group settings, with your Ignite the King, and with this group mentality, this community mentality, people start really connecting to you and really feeling comfortable, and then in the future really feeling the drive and the passion to go visit you. Right. And to really have an event that people come from all over and go, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for transformation. I'm ready for change. Yeah. And that is so cool. It just it gives me the chills a little bit. It's powerful.
Yeah. It's, I think what we're learning right now is how to, and I think it's been going on, but really discerning what's real, right? Like time is still very valuable to everyone. That's the only thing that we really have. So what I'm finding is people don't want to waste their time on things that aren't going to serve them or help them grow. So we're getting just better and better at being able individually to discern, like, I want to spend my time here, or I don't want to spend my time here. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, even having to wear a mask out in the public, I've been saying lately that we're all going to be such good poker players after this, because now we have to see what's just above here and be able to read someone's expression, right? So much we used to interpret by our face.
Yeah.
And in a lot of situations now that just doesn't exist. So we're having to like really tune into someone's eyes, right? Eyes are windows to the soul. So we have to like being able again to discern what someone is saying, what they mean, with less sort of information and more having to really connect to them. So that's just one example, but I think online now, you know, you watch a video and, oh, it's 5 minutes. You're not going to watch 5 minutes. You'll maybe watch 20 seconds and in fact, do I want to watch more? So it's got to be captivating. It's got to be engaging. It's got to solve a problem. It's got to be helping them. So I'm hoping that the work that you're doing, I'm doing, that we're all doing in this space is adding and amplifying that energetic on the planet, because we know there's a lot out there that is not doing that. So this kind of work is more important than ever.
Yeah, I really see the sifting will happen through your energy. It'll happen through what you're putting out there with your heart, knowing that you come up with a brand, with your idea, what you want to bring to the world, and people will be attracted to that. And I think people are sifting through. They're deciding what they're watching. They're really, and people are feeling their time more valuable, and they're attracted to you. And with everyone getting together and everyone building each other up, it's just like it's there's abundance for everyone, and it's so cool.
And this is how we're all learning now, right? I mean, this, whether it be a kid going to college or high school, or, you know, wanting to, I mean, this has been brewing for a long time, and now we're sort of forced to do it. And it's just so much more accessible, which is great. I love it.
And so much more exciting. It's the same thing as you know, teaching a kid what they want to learn rather than the structure that's been there for 100 years. And it's really giving the people opportunity to run for what they want to transform and to do.
Yeah, I saw a great quote recently. You know, my son, he's in like a Waldorf style school program, which is very different than the traditional schooling.
Yeah.
And I was reading up on, you know, some of the philosophy behind their curriculum. And there was a quote from a former student, and this was a person that had just graduated high school, so a little older. And they said, this type of program doesn't tell me what to see, it just shows me where to look. And I thought that was just so powerful. And I think that's what we're seeing now with all of this is that, you know, it used to be you just receiving information, being told this is what you need to know. And now it's like there's so much available, right? So if you're not being told you got to know this, it's just like, hey, look over here. And then you can take it as far as you want. You can, I mean, any topic now, we just have literally so much available to us. I think it's just incredible. And not to substitute that for real wisdom. You know, we're, as you know, Donnie Epstein, our mentor network, would always say we're an information overload, but wisdom deprivation. So just to remember that the wisdom, the real profound wisdom, like we said, sift through, really have to like make sure you're getting that piece.
Can you elaborate on wisdom a little bit for me?
Sure. Well, as in contrast, information, right? Data, which they're saying data is like the new oil, right? There's so much data out there on people, and you can specify every little detail of, you know, the metrics. However, the meaning or the depth or the understanding that really helps build the connection, you can't get through a number. You can't get through a metric or a data. You know, I could look up online how to make chocolate chip cookies and get the recipe, but yet I could call my mom and ask her for her recipe. And along with the data of the recipe, I can get a story. I can get, oh, well, my mother taught me. Yeah. Oh, and you used to always do this when we would make cookies together. And I could share that with my son, right? So it brings more fullness to emotion, the data, the emotion, because that's how we remember things anyway. It's the emotional attachment or the emotional intensity of a moment. We don't remember the data. Remember how we felt. You think of any great lecturer or speaker that you saw, whether live or online, and how much of their actual words do you remember versus what was the feeling you had when you saw them speak?
Yeah.
And the latter is usually more true.
Yeah. That is so cool. That's so cool, Michael. I would love to know about IGKnight. How is that the cornerstone of your work?
Yeah, well, where do we start the story,
Yeah,
right?
this is a little loaded, I guess.
Well, I love when before we got on the podcast or the video of this, where you said that it started with a word, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then the conversation would build on that. And you had said when you reached out, like, I want to know about the word ignite, and ignite is with a K, right? Being a
Mm-hmm.
knight. And that's how it all began for me, realizing that it really started when I knew I was going to be a father, right? It was a big step
Yeah.
up essentially in life, a big threshold that I was crossing over that really does change you on every level. And for me, in the best possible way. So what happened was I realized, like, there's a lot I'm going to have to step up into and a lot I didn't know. So we talk about wisdom. I called my father and I said, hey, I'm going to be a dad. Like, give me the wisdom. You know?
Yeah.
And my dad, I love the man to death. He's still alive. He's 80, almost 87 years old. Grew up in the Depression in New York. His generation was the silent generation. So not very expressive, not very emotional. But what he said to me was, he said, 80% of being a dad is showing up, and 20% is how you show up. But he's like, just be there. That's the number one thing you can do. And when you're
Mm-hmm.
tired on Sunday and your kid wants to go out and throw the ball around, you get up and you go throw the ball around. And for sure, those are many of the moments I remember of my dad when I was growing up, right?
Yeah.
So I realized there's this code, essentially, as men, that is important that we live by. And it really is like the code of the knight. I mean, that's the way I transcribe it. So there's honor, there's valor, there's pride, there's respect, there's all of these things, all of these codes that, as a man, I think have not been passed down in the way that they deserve to be.
Mm-hmm.
We see what's going on in the public eye and how, people in positions of respect, that, whether it be teachers, politicians, it's lost a lot of its luster, so to
Yeah.
speak, right?
That's a
And
great way
not
to
to get
put
into
it.
politics, but when people use the word, oh, he is or isn't acting presidential. Well, what does that really mean, right? There's a
Mm-hmm.
certain way of being, of carrying ourselves, especially as men. And I found it unique or interesting. We always heard the quote that, like, chivalry is dead. And
Mm-hmm.
I always ask people, do you know when that quote was written? And I'll ask you the same question. Do you know when that quote was written? I'll
No,
give you one guess.
I could give a 1750.
Wow, you're actually right. You are the first person to be
No
right.
way. Huh? For real?
For real. Most people think it was like 1950, 1960, something like that. But it was Lord Byron back in the mid 1700s. So to
Wow.
me, for, whatever, almost 300 years, for that concept to be like, wow, well, what have we been doing for the last 300 years,
Mm-hmm.
So it just reminded me that, as men, there's a certain way of being that are inherent in our DNA, inherent in our physiology as men, to be the provider, to be the protector. And not saying that the feminine or women cannot provide or protect themselves. Absolutely. They're more than capable.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an inherent energy within us as men to step up into that role. And we need to model that more. And I feel like we've just gotten away from that. So ignite is, the word implies, to ignite, to light up, to bring forth, to bring a flame to it, but to ignite the night, right? To bring forth those values, again, those core values And what I find with a lot of the men I work with is they don't even know what it really means in its true essence to be a man or to embody the masculine energy. Especially, in the last, 4 or 5 years in the wake of Me Too, and seeing all the things come to light that have obviously been terrible to how men have treated women, children, abuse of power, all of those things. It's gotten even more distorted for
Mm-hmm.
what does it truly mean to be a man. So my goal, my role, I guess, is to bring these things that are in our core nature, but to bring them into a modern day context and to bring them and make them applicable on the day to day. So we understand what it means to show up. And then there's a lot of other things embedded in that, the masculine archetypes, all the different healing work I've done. So, but the word itself is really about how to be knight, how to be noble,
Mm-hmm.
how to be honorable, how to
Mm-hmm.
live with respect and valor and purpose. And if we amplify that and we model that, not just for other men, but really for our children,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then that is that, what I like to call the evolutionary baton.
Mm-hmm.
So when I became a dad, I realized, and it's continuing to unfold, is it's my life. It's not even about me anymore, right? It's about my legacy, and that child is my legacy. And the other thing is, it's not just my child. Like, I become a father to all children,
Yep.
and how I hold myself. So, this starts to get in a bigger context here. But to answer your question, it's about living a certain way that models and gives blessing to the younger generation and shows them the path so they can take that baton and bring it further even more. And I feel like in the last 30, 40, 50 years that we kind of fell back a little bit, and it's time to bring it forward even more now.
It's incredible, Michael. It's absolutely incredible. I feel like you saying being a father for all the children and for all of this. This is something that I felt. I don't have any children of my own, but in the last 5 years, I felt like this has been. It was part of my goal, and you put it into words that really explained what I meant by, like, I'm going to be sort of a father to all, to more than just my children, and that's such a beautiful way of putting it.
Yeah.
I appreciate
And I'm
that.
glad you brought that up, because, there might be men listening to this and say, well, I don't have a kid. So how is this relevant to me? And, whether you choose to have your own children or not, by being a man in this world, you are modeling for the other boys that will be men in the world.
Yeah.
And conducting yourself and living life in a certain way is modeling to them.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things that boys are lacking in our culture is receiving the blessing from other men. I mean, you look at, for example, any sort of high school coach, a basketball coach, a football coach that is fathering many boys, right? And may or may not have children of their own, but yet they are the father figure for these boys that may not have fathers of their own, and looking for that guidance, looking for that leadership, that mentorship, learning how to be in the world.
Yeah.
And what we're lacking is boys receiving that blessing and going through that rite of passage from boy to man. And in the Western world, we just don't have that. It's been very non-existent. And as one of the men that's on my leadership team in IGKnight says, we have a bunch of boys running around in men's bodies, essentially. And there's an immaturity that just hasn't matured. So
It's a general consciousness. I mean, I feel like I was raised with, a great father. He was able to do what he was able to do, but it's not in the works of creating that transition, of creating that transformation
yeah.
to a man. And it's something that I had to look for later in life, I guess.
Yeah. And you know, it's not on, you know, for me, for example, I can't expect to be everything my son needs me to be in every aspect of being a man and about masculinity, right? That's why in one respect, we have uncles, right? And your uncles teach you different things. Or you have, you know, like we said, coaches or teachers. So we have, you know, that's why I feel like the responsibility of men is to embody the aspects of who you truly are as a man and model that for that next generation.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to try to be everything to everybody. Just find a place, and we want to always, you know, be working on ourselves and getting better in the areas maybe we're not, you know, blessed with. But at the same time, like, find the things that you are really blessed with and be really better at that and express that more. And that's one of the pains of men I've noticed is this thing of holding it in, hiding, compressing it down, not allowing it to, and you know, our culture as a whole has not done a very good job to support boys in connecting to that. If
Into their
anything, it's been the
creativity.
opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Into
Yeah.
their passion, into the creativity. You know, before, just recently, I don't think I understood the word passion, or the word, or the feeling of it. I never associated with it,
Yeah.
because it was always something that needed to be hidden in a way. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but yeah, that creativity, that, like, for a guy to be able to go, wow, that's
Yeah.
incredible, what I just did right there.
Yeah. Totally.
Huh? Why can't we do that in public? You
Yeah.
know, why has it been so difficult to express just pure joy in public? It's
Yeah. Well, that's a bigger conversation.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You know, I grew up in New York, and the mode of being was be calm, be cool, be collected, like, you know, fly below the radar, don't express too loudly, don't stick out, right? It was,
Mhm.
you know, especially in New York, it was like, don't even look people in the eye, right? So how are you supposed to share who you are? But you use the word passion, and I love that word for many reasons. And I had this chiropractic mentor, uh, this amazing man. His name was Pasquale Sarasoli, and he was born September 11th, 1911. He passed away maybe 5 or 6, 7 years ago, but he was a chiropractor in Brooklyn, New York, and amazing man. He actually, we talked before about when you see someone speak and you don't remember anything they said, but how they made you feel.
Yeah.
And he was one of the first speakers I ever saw when I decided to become a chiropractor. And I don't remember a word he said, but I remember the feeling I had when I saw him speak. And I knew from that moment that this is what at the time, that was what I was meant to do. So, but he was really into words and breaking down words. And if you look at the word passion and you break it down, pass, I, on. That's what we're doing with passion. We're
Wow.
passing ourselves on, pass, I, on. So when again, it's kind of like that baton I talked about, where it's
Yeah.
you're so you're so embodied in what you're doing that it can't help but be transferred to others. To me, that's what passion is.
That is so cool, Michael. That's a beautiful way of putting it. So cool. What are the transformations that you see and experience in your group, Ignite the
Yeah,
King?
great question. There's so many. You know, I would, for the sake of answering the question, there's three main areas I see. One, in relationships, and this ties into that emotion and expression and passion, is men being able to be with their partners, their wives, their girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever it may be, in a way where they're present. Because I know that's one of the biggest challenges, where as men, we want to quickly fix things, or we get
Yeah.
defensive. And I'm saying these things because I did them all the time, and I still do on some levels, because that's how we're wired, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's not what our partners want. They want to be heard. They want to be seen. They want to be felt. They want us to be there, not want to fix it. They want us to empathize. And this very much ties into the energy of the lover archetype. And this is probably one of the more underdeveloped archetypes in men, because it hasn't been modeled for us, or culturally it wasn't accepted. So learning how to be playful, alive, present, empathic, be able to express how we feel and to hold space for our partners to do that. Seeing men being able to do that has had huge effects on, I've seen men that were literally on the verge of divorce and see their relationships turn around because of it. And also in being a father and having children and not knowing how to connect with their children, or just maybe passing on the same, I don't know if I can curse, but same shitty behaviors that they were modeled, right?
Yeah.
So like what happens that changes the course of you perpetuating certain things that you learned, or establishing something new, and having boundaries and having clarity on, not just being a pleaser, whether it be to your partner or be to your children, right? Like teaching humbleness, teaching how to be able to stand up to something, have conviction around something. Seeing relationships between parents and children transform. I think another area has been around, men finding what their mission is. I think also with what's going on in our culture right now, where maybe people have lost their jobs or their jobs are changing, and realizing, is this what I want to be doing anymore? Is this what my passion is? Is this what really calls to me? Am I just doing this because I know I need to make a living, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. That's very respectful to do that, or to sacrifice in that way. But at the same time, at the end of the day, are you really here truly living what you know you must be living in this lifetime? And to get that earlier in life as much as possible, and not having those regrets standing around your deathbed.
Yeah.
Right? So those are probably the three main areas I've seen the biggest changes with, is in relationship, in parenting, and in their mission in the world, and getting clear on that. As far as like a skill set, I think it's about being able to recognize in the moment how you're either showing up or not, and being able to very quickly change that energetic and show up differently.
Over and over again.
Not perpetuate the same old strategies, right? Being able to self-correct.
So it's really valuable. Interesting when you did talk about mission, and when you did talk about that, I really had an emotion with that of just like, yes, that sounds awesome. I want my mission, but you also need to be in a positive place to be able to grasp it, right?
Yeah. Well, it's like, are you reacting or responding, right?
Yeah.
If you're feeling pain, or feel like what you're doing is not what you want to be doing, that's probably not the best headspace or heart space to be in to get connected to your mission. So there's definitely some foundational work that we need to sort of catch ourselves up on as men specifically, in order to get clear. Everyone thinks there's going to be this like lightning bolt eureka moment, and it does happen that way as well. But the reality, what I found working with men and in my own journey, it's little breadcrumbs, right? It's little whispers that we get along the way. And especially as men, if we're so, tunnel vision of life, like hunt, kill, goal, all of that, we're missing out on all this subtlety, all this energy and information that is happening around us that we're not picking up on. And a lot of times that has to get louder and louder and louder. And usually that shows up as, now it's like when men say, oh, my wife, she just picked up and left. And then the question is, well, when did she really leave? Now she actually physically did it, but maybe she left 10 years ago, but she was still there. And when you're not getting the subtle cues of that. So around our mission, I think it's the same. It's like the more we can connect to what drives us, what our passions are, what excites us, and that takes a certain level of emotional intelligence, then we can pick up on those cues and then use our more mental focus, our warrior energy to actually take action on it and translate it into the world.
Patience, what I
Yes.
feel, yeah. And really not being into just once again the quick fix, quick, I can fix that quick, but really putting yourself in a space to receive those subtle hints, those things that are happening around you.
Yeah. And we fill the space so quickly nowadays, right?
Yep.
I know these are so many topics around talking about one thing, but where again, this ties into that information overload. Like, we're standing on a line in the grocery store, and what do we typically do? We pick up our phone, right? Because we just fill the space. Yet then we're missing out on everything that's going on around us, right? So we need to pause. We need to slow down. We need to be in the space between. I teach my son that all the time. Like, he's got a lot of energy, so we'll do an activity, and then it's like, okay, what's next? What's next? He like wants the next thing, and I tell him a lot of times, well, there's nothing next. Next is we just sit around and feel what just happened and reflect on it and what lessons did we learn, and at least for a couple minutes, right? Let it integrate, let it get into our system. That's important, and that's a thing that we haven't done. We have these devices where we can just be constantly intaking, and we need to slow that part down. Yeah.
So I realized that we need to get together again, Michael, because we have a lot to talk about for sure. This conversation that we've had has been incredible. And I would like to continue that for sure. So let's get back together again very soon.
Great.
And do it again. I would love to have you explain a little bit to everyone what you're creating at the moment and what Ignite the King is a little bit. And then we'll finish up this episode. We're also going to include a writing by you and me about our conversation and about more you want to express about that. Sure. And of course, I would love to get back together here very soon and do it again.
I'd be honored. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you. So Ignite the King is a company I launched last year, and it's basically a training ground for men to become better men, to focus on these embedded energies and archetypes that we all have, and to be aware of how what I call the shadow likes to show up as, how to be aware of that, and in real time be able to transform that and not have them perpetuate out in negative ways in our life. Specifically around the three things we talked about, like how to be better in your relationship, how to have more fulfillment there, how to be a better parent and really be passing along and creating a legacy.
For all your children.
And for all the children, right, to model that. And as far as our mission, to amplify that energy in the world, so that I'm an idealist at heart, to know that we're here to make the world a better place. And every thought, every action, everything matters. Everything affects everything else. So Ignite is a program and an opportunity for men to learn these skill sets and these tools that really have not been taught to us for the most part, and to know how to connect to how we're feeling, how to self-assess how we're doing on the day-to-day, and how to transform that in the moment so we can then show up better every single day. And knowing that we will make mistakes, and there's things that we're going to do that aren't perfect, and that's okay, and we just do better the next day. And to have accountability and a brotherhood of men that are supporting one another. There's a classic challenge for men is to be the lone wolf, to think I got to do this all myself. Women typically have many friends. Men typically don't, right? And then we don't share how we're truly doing with those men at that. So to have a brotherhood that's supportive, non-judgmental, to have a container that, one of the things I learned, I'll end on this, is that your work is my work. And the more I get men together and hear them share with one another, the more I realize that we're all going through essentially the same experience.
Yep.
And then we realize we're not alone. And that fact alone creates huge transformation. It's a relief to know, like, I don't have to carry this burden on my shoulders.
Yeah, I
And
felt
we
it.
can,
Yeah.
yeah. And that has been hugely transformational. So to create a context and a container for that to happen, that's what Ignite the King is about,
Beautiful.
among all the other amazing
Yeah.
pieces that go with it. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, the safety and accountability and just being in the presence of everyone going through the same experience you are.
Yeah. You
And that,
know, just like you train at the gym or train a martial art, like you have to train how to be a man.
yeah,
You know, it's not just because you are a man by gender doesn't mean you are embodying the masculine or the mature masculine, I should say.
yeah,
And that's okay. That it has to be learned. That's just how it goes.
yeah.
So
I'm really looking forward to your virtual world, your virtual influence, your worldly influence that this is transforming into,
yeah,
because people need to be around your energy and feel what I have felt just now.
thank
And I hope with these kind of events and these kind of collaborations and just awesome stuff happening, it'll be
you. Yeah.
just plentiful for,
Yeah,
you
we've
know,
been
just
running a lot of great virtual immersions and master classes on these archetypes and skill sets on how to embody them more. And it's really translated well. And ultimately, I know you had asked, like, is there a process we can do or anything? And the only thing I'll share on that is when we are sharing how we're doing, usually the first share is like kind of what we've pre-planned, right? Or our
yep.
top grade, or okay, this is going to be my answer to this. And that's important to kind of get that out. And then I teach men and then drop in deeper. Like get all that out, get all that mind stuff out, and then slow down. And you do this really well where when I'm even in this conversation, your pace is slower. It draws different things out of me, right? Because just who you're being, and it allows me to drop in deeper. So I always teach men top layer and the underneath layer. Get
Yeah.
all that stuff out. That's the mind. Good. It wants to speak. The ego needs to be satiated.
Yeah.
And then what's really, describe what you're feeling. Like, can you name it? What's the emotion? Not the story. What are you feeling? Can you say it in a word? I'm feeling fear right now. Okay, can you be with that? I'm feeling angry. Okay.
Yeah.
As men, were we even allowed to say that, right? So
Yeah.
that's an important sort of starting place for having a language that helps support this process.
Incredible, Michael. Incredible. I'm so looking forward to this adventure.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. And I know a lot of other people will too. The best way to get a hold of you at the moment?
IgniteTheKing.com. You
Okay.
can put your email on there. We have newsletters that go out, and also our Facebook page, Ignite the King, and that's with a K, and a lot of great content there and ways to reach out to us and find out about our upcoming virtual and in-person programs.
Awesome. Ignite the King, IGKnight.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't be too cute on the name and make it
No,
easier.
it's an incredible one. If you put it in a Google search, it'll pop up because
Yeah,
it's individual and it really sparked something with me. I need to connect with it. I need to
yeah,
reach out to you, and I'm so happy that I did,
me as
Michael.
well.
And
Thank you.
thank you for connecting. Thank you everyone for showing up. Change your heart. And until next week, I don't know what to say. Just thank you for being here. And thanks for being part of this community. I love you.